So since the last workout video worked so well, doing biceps, I thought, hey, why don't I make another video on triceps? So I'm gonna go over how to warm up, how to increase the weight, and what exercise is the best, especially if you have injuries. So the first one I always like to warm up with, and I think is probably the best if you have tendonitis in your elbows, or if you just need a good exercise to warm up your elbows, is prone dumbbell kickbacks. Okay, so you would want to warm up, pretty light, maybe 2.5 pounds, 5 pounds, whatever. I've already warmed up, but I'm gonna do the exercise with my top weight, which is 15 pounds. I don't like to go super heavy with these, because these are more of the warm-up exercise. So, got my 15 pounds, laying prone on the bench. So if you don't have a bench, you can do this on a ball or an ottoman. I've heard some people doing this on an ottoman. So, bring the elbows up, and then do kickbacks. I try to keep the palms facing down to the ground, so slightly supinated with the wrist. And just going into extensions. And again, this is really nice if you have tendonitis in your elbows. And I've found that people who have tendonitis, they can't do the stretch part of the tricep extension or anything that stretches the tricep tendon. But what's nice with this one is there's not really any stretch on the elbow. The stretch would be more like coming this angle. There's not really any tension down at the bottom. So all the tension's at the top. Really nice way to warm up the triceps. And I'm trying to keep my shoulder blades engaged. I'm not letting my shoulders drop to the ground like this. I'm not going like this. So I'm keeping everything engaged, extending, keeping my palms slightly turned to the ground. Oh, these are good. And you want to hit 15 to 20 reps, maybe 10 to 20 reps, somewhere in that range. All right, so that's the first exercise. All right, so you've warmed up your triceps, you've warmed up your elbows. Now it's time to move into the compound moves, the one that's really gonna put on muscle on the arm, okay? Specifically the medial head. You have 3 heads of the tricep. You have the long head way back here, okay, this guy. Then you have the lateral head right here, this guy. And then the medial head is right in the middle. You don't have a short head. Long head, lateral head, medial head. No short head. But the medial one is this big, strong tricep muscle. So when you're doing push-ups and you feel your triceps, that's the one you're primarily feeling. When you're doing dips, that's the one you're primarily feeling. So that's what I'm gonna focus with in this compound move. So I like dips because I can really get them into the triceps. I like a neutral grip. You may not have access to a neutral grip, a prone grip for the wrists. Most dips are neutral. So I actually prefer pronated for the triceps, but you have to work with what you got. So I try to keep my hands pretty narrow to my body. I want to actually flare my elbows because I'm not trying to get my chest. I'm trying to get the triceps, okay? And I'm fully extending. I'm trying to push through my triceps. Trying not to get any shoulder or chest involvement. Now I might do little pulses to get more tricep engagement, like this, okay? Keeping the elbows kind of forward. So this is a little advanced. I'm gonna show you the easier version later, but this is how to get that medial head really working. And what's nice is working your triceps this way will improve your push-ups and bench press because you're working on the weak point of the lift on those exercises, okay? And I might do some pulses down at the bottom, all the way up. Okay, so there's the compound move, keeping the elbows out. Not tucking them back. If I tuck them back, you tend to get more chest, okay? That's one thing I've noticed. And I prefer hands forward rather than neutral because then this way it gets your chest more. But if you don't have access to that, you don't have access to a bar like this, just do regular dips. Okay, so what if you can't do dips? Well, that's why you use bands. These things are cheap. So, if you don't have access to a gym, you can buy these things. They're super useful. Okay, so slap them on to the rings or whatever kind of band system you got. And after training people, anybody can do dips with bands. It just depends on what level band they need. And I even throw these things in. I love them because say I'm a little burned out. Like right now, I'm a little tired from that last set. I can just go right into my next set and really pound it out. And same thing, keep the elbows forward. Watch your shoulders. And what's weird, I've actually noticed not going full range of motion on the way down. So not going all the way down, So I can keep that tension in the triceps. Then I might go a little bit lower. You know, change your angles. It's surprising. You may not need to go full range of motion, okay? Because sometimes you go too deep, you get too much of a stretch in the pecs, then they somehow help. And then again, doing little pulses, changing your angles a little bit, or trying to keep the tension in the muscle you're trying to work, okay? Okay, now here's the high intensity principle. Take the band away. You're completely fatigued. I can't do any more concentric. I can't do another concentric part of the movement. I can't go up anymore. But you can still do the eccentric. You know, usually that's totally fine. So with the eccentric, so the concentric is going up like this. Control the movement up and down. So say if I can't do that upward movement anymore. Say I can't press anymore. Okay, I'm gonna start hopping, coming up and then controlling it down, going into the eccentric. Hopping, controlling the eccentric. I think dips are great to do this. And they just kill. Because you can go to complete fatigue. This is a really good way to throw in some torture into your tricep programming. Okay, so that's a little high intensity principle that you can throw in for triceps. I think it's really good. Well, you might be telling yourself, hey, I don't have access to dips, or I can't even do dips, and I don't want to do dips. So there's no excuse, because there's modifications that we can do. So we can do push-ups off of an elevated surface. So this can be a counter. Counter would be pretty easy. The lower you go, the harder it gets. If you end up doing them on the ground, that's the best, or the hardest. So same idea. So I have kind of a narrow position with my hands. I'm really trying to flare my elbows out, and I'm doing push-ups like this. This is pretty easy. A lot of you probably know this, diamond push-ups. I don't like to go full diamond, put some pressure on the wrist, a lot of torque on the elbow. So I like to keep it about shoulder width. I still try to flare my elbows because I do want to get a stretch, okay? So there's the modification if you hate dips. All right, we just worked the medial head with a compound movement like a dip or a push-up. Okay, so now we want to focus a little bit more on the lateral head, more on the outside, the medial head inside, long head on the real medial side. For some reason, there's no short head. Okay, so we have the lateral head. Okay, we want to focus on that one. I think dumbbell kickbacks, the one we did first for warm-ups, are good, but they don't put enough stress. They don't put enough stretch on the tricep. I think that's the key to getting a lot of tricep stuff. But your elbows have to be warmed up because you're also putting damage on like the muscle. You put a little bit more stress on the tendon, okay? So after you're warmed up, right? We were already warmed up. We're going into a single arm tricep extension. You can do this pronated. I don't really like doing them this way because I think it's easy to roll your shoulder in and start using your pec muscle to push it. Sometimes that's okay, if that's your focus. It works the medial head, but we want to work the lateral head. So I like more of a neutral grip, or even kind of a supinated grip. Really hits that lateral head. So nice, slow, eccentric contraction through this. So I'm starting to go to fatigue. This is my last set. Okay, so I'm gonna do a high intensity principle. I'm gonna push it down, control the weight up. Push it down, control the weight up. Really good way to fire up the triceps. And also try to keep the shoulder blade contracted. You know, don't let your shoulder drop in. It becomes a pec exercise, okay? Little bit of eccentrics. These are really cool. I love these. I usually start with doing my left arm first, my weaker arm, because, you know, whatever that arm gets, then I do the same on the right. So that's the idea with that one. Now, say if you don't have a cable system like this, you're still at home, you don't have a gym. Well, you can do this with a band. So I got my band hooked up to something high. I got this beam, but you could do a tree limb. Same exercise, same exact exercise, okay? Same exercise. So you can do this with the band. Really good. Just keep your shoulder blade engaged, you know, medial or neutral position. Don't drop your shoulder forward. You end up getting your pec involved, okay? All right, so we've worked the medial head through a compound press. We've worked the lateral head through tricep extensions. So how about this infamous long head? Well, Let's talk about function. All the tricep muscles insert on the olecranon process, so they all do elbow extension, okay? Not all of them originate on the same area. So the lateral head and the medial head both originate on the humerus. The long head originates on the scapula, so it gives it another function other than just elbow extension. Also shoulder extension. So this is elbow extension, this is shoulder extension. So you have to do an exercise that combines those two movements to really optimize that muscle. And the way I like to do it is kind of a pullover movement. So I got a cable, I put myself into a nice deep stretch, okay? Really stretched out, and then I'm pulling down. So this movement right here, that's like long head. It's easy to start using other muscles, so you gotta be a little careful. You don't wanna be using your lats because they're pretty strong and they can take over. But I'm pulling down and I'm extending down. Pulling down, extending down, okay? This is probably the best combination for the long head tricep. Pulling down, extending down. Pulling down, extending down. And just like I showed you before with those two other high intensity principles, you can go to eccentric fatigue. So say if I'm starting to get fatigued out, okay, I can't do these anymore, then I'd go into using some momentum to get the bar down, and then control up, control, 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 all the way down. Get some momentum to get it down. Control, 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 control. You can use a partner, if they're wearing a mask, to help you push the bar down if you don't want to use momentum to get it down. It was a really good partner exercise. Okay? Okay, so those are your tricep exercises. Hope those are great. And if you're in medical school like me, I hope you go and kick some butt on your exams. All right.